Welcome back to my channel, everybody, and Happy New Year. I hope that 2021 is going to be a lot better for all of us than 2020 was. If you're new here, I'm Claudia. Thank you so much for being here. I'm really excited you're here. A couple of months ago, I uploaded a video on microneedling. If you have not seen that video, I will link it down below. I had been a bit hesitant to upload the video. However, it is my most popular video on here. It got some really incredible comments and feedback from so many of you, and also a ton of questions. So in today's video, I'm going to answer the most frequently asked questions I got below that video, and I hope it will be helpful. I have 2 pages of questions right here. So without further ado, let's get right to it. Oh, but before I answer the questions, I want to say really briefly what I also said in my microneedling video. I am not an expert on microneedling, which is why I was a bit hesitant to upload the video in the first place. I am not a doctor, I'm not an esthetician. I am a trained and certified physician's assistant, which makes me comfortable using needles. But my education was so long ago, and I haven't worked in the field for so long that it really hardly counts anymore. So please know that I am not an expert on microneedling. The only expertise I have as far as microneedling is that I have microneedled myself at home for almost 11 years now, and I've done a ton of research. But please, if you are considering doing at-home microneedling, do your own research. Don't just do what I do or any other YouTuber, right? Do your own research. There are some risks involved with at-home microneedling. There are risks if you go to a professional, so please do your own research. I do think that everybody can learn how to microneedle at home, but again, please do your own research. So with all that said, let's answer the questions. The 2 most frequently asked questions I got were how deep do I microneedle and how frequently. I actually addressed both of these in the video, but there was a lot going on. I don't blame you if you missed it. In this video, I'm only going to be talking about medical microneedling. And of course, I'm only going to be talking about my own experience. Medical microneedling is also known as collagen induction therapy and uses a needle length of 0.5 millimeters or longer. There's also cosmetic microneedling, which is quite shallow, 0.2 to 0.3 millimeters deep. And cosmetic microneedling is really more for product penetration. However, some people say that cosmetic microneedling is just as effective as medical microneedling as far as collagen induction without the downtime and the risk of scarring. But I personally only medical microneedle, so that's all I can talk about. So when I personally microneedle, I use a needle length of 1 millimeter to 1.5 millimeters. So what I will normally do is I will do 1 millimeter all over my face, my neck, and my chest. 1.5 right here because I am quite sunken in here and it is harder to get to. However, once I get to the eye area, I will go less deep, and I will talk about the eyes in a second because I had a lot of questions on that as well. So I personally will go 1 millimeter to 1.5 millimeters and less under the eye area. Now, some people will tell you that that is too deep, and all you need for collagen induction is 0.5 millimeters. And they might be right. But again, I am just talking about my own experience. And going at that depth has given me great results. As far as the frequency, since I only medical microneedle, I only go about every 4 to 6 weeks. Now, cosmetic microneedling, you can do much more frequently. But when we medical microneedle, what we do is we are causing a controlled injury. This injury, of course, takes some time to heal. Our skin will go through an inflammation phase, a collagen building phase. All of that takes time. So personally, I only medical microneedle every 4 to maybe even every 6 weeks. What I will do, I will always write down the date to make sure I don't go more frequently than that. Because after a week or so, your skin will look great and you might be tempted to do it more often. But like I said, when we medical microneedle, this controlled injury that we're causing really needs some time to heal. So if we do it too frequently, we're just causing inflammation and we're not doing ourselves any favor. Another question I got quite frequently is if I use numbing cream. And no, I do not use numbing cream. I use a microneedling machine called the Derminator. I'll show you in a second. And using the derminator, I do not find the need to use numbing cream. However, when I first started microneedling almost 11 years ago, all that was available were dermarollers, and I find dermarollers a lot more painful than using the derminator. So back then, yes, I used numbing cream, but like I said, now using the derminator, I don't find the need to use numbing cream. For me, really, the most sensitive areas are around the mouth and maybe the forehead, but not sensitive enough that I feel the need for numbing cream. However, if you're squirmish, by all means, use numbing cream. Just make sure to wipe it off well before you microneedle, because you do not want to microneedle the numbing cream into your skin. And since I just brought it up, another question I got quite frequently was, how does the derminator compare to a Dr. Pen or a dermaroller? Now personally, I have never used a Dr. Pen, so I don't know how to compare it. But I have a dermaroller right here, and I have the derminator. So to start out with, this is the derminator. It is a microneedling machine similar to a Dr. Pen. And by the way, I have no affiliation with this company. I did very briefly. And when I was briefly affiliated with them, several of you reached out to me and told me you were interested in buying this, but you weren't sure because their website looked a bit shady. And yes, their website looks very shady. And the wording they use on the website is not very inviting. So when I was briefly affiliated with them, I reached out to them very politely, very friendly, and told them that several of you had voiced your concern, and they did not like that, and they did not want me to be an affiliate any longer, which is fine. I still think this is a great machine, and I do think it's worthwhile buying. Just know that if you're interested, their website does look shady, but they are a legit company. They don't have the greatest customer service, but everything I've ever ordered has arrived, no problems. Anyways, this is the derminator. It is a microneedling machine. It has a little doodad right here, and what you do is you use a fresh cartridge every time. You put it in here, then you choose your needle length. This goes anywhere from 0.2 millimeters to 2.5 millimeters, which you do not want to use on your face, but you could use on your body. And then you choose a speed. This has slow, medium, or fast. You use this, you glide it over your face in a circular motion. This right here is a dermaroller. Now this is a very short one. It is only 0.2 millimeters, but dermarollers also come anywhere from 0.2 millimeters to 3 millimeters needle length. And then it rolls. So the way you use a dermaroller is you go horizontally and then vertically. Some people like to go in a star pattern, but I think that's too much information. So, like I said earlier, this is a lot more painful than using the derminator, and I think a Dr. Pen is also less painful. Not at this needle length, not at 0.2 millimeters, but if I were to use 1 millimeter or 1.5 millimeters, it would be a lot more painful. And as I said earlier, I use 1 millimeter, 1.5, less under the eyes, so I would actually need 3 different dermarollers to get all those different depths. Versus right here, or with a Dr. Pen, I can just dial in the depths I want. So this is a lot more versatile than this right here. Another disadvantage I think a dermaroller has is that it is a lot more difficult to sanitize. And sanitation is crucial when you're doing at-home microneedling. So this you have to sanitize every single time after microneedling. Versus, like I said, with the derminator or Dr. Pen, you just use a fresh cartridge every time. There is no guesswork. Is it clean? These are sterile. So that's, I think, another disadvantage. Also, after a while, you have to throw these out. Now, you can use these several times, but that's another thing. I was never quite sure when to throw it out, and I think sometimes I might have used it a little bit too long because I didn't want to buy a new one. But after a while, the needles will get dull and you have to replace it. So it's a lot of waste. Not just the dermaroller itself, but usually it has quite a bit of packaging. So a lot of waste versus just throwing out a cartridge every single time. So I do think there are quite a few disadvantages to using a dermaroller versus the derminator or a Dr. Pen. Now, as far as results, I do think you can get the same results with a dermaroller as you can with the derminator, and I'm assuming with a Dr. Pen. I just think, like I said, there are quite a few disadvantages to using a dermaroller. Another thing is that it is quite difficult to find a good dermaroller. They are out there, and I will link some down below in the description box, but there are also a lot of bad ones out there. If you're looking for a dermaroller, make sure the needles are either stainless steel or titanium. And once you get it home, inspect it and make sure all the needles are facing the same direction. if you have one needle facing the other way, you can tear your skin. So I do think it's a little bit more difficult to find a good dermaroller, but like I said, they're out there, and I will link some down below. So as I said, I do think you can get the same results with a dermaroller, but in my opinion, it has quite a few disadvantages over a microneedling machine. That being said, if you're just starting out microneedling at home and you don't know, is it something you're going to stick with, then I would say get a good dermaroller and try it. See if it's something you're actually going to stick with, and if so, then you can always invest in a derminator or a derma pen. Just know that if you're using a dermaroller, it is going to be a little bit more painful than using the derminator, or I'm assuming a doctor pen. And since I just talked about getting started, a couple of you asked me, you already had an appointment scheduled at a med spa for a microneedling session, and then you saw my video and you wondered, should you just cancel the appointment and do it yourself? And I would say no, actually, even though, like I said, I think everybody can learn how to microneedle at home. I think if you already have an appointment, or if you have a good professional around that you trust, then have it done at least once professionally and see what it's like. See what to expect, what it's like afterwards, what the aftercare is like, and I think all of that is going to make you feel a bit more comfortable to do it yourself at home then. So if you already have an appointment scheduled, or like I said, you know of a good professional that you actually trust, I would say at least once, have it done professionally. Now, I did not have the luxury almost 11 years ago. Nobody really did it back then. But if I could go back now, I think it would help me just know what to do and what not to do. So definitely, I would say at least once, have it done professionally, see what it's like, what to expect, and then it will make you feel more comfortable doing it at home. A lot of you wanted to know, can microneedling help reduce pore size? Can it get rid of smile lines? Can it help with skin sagging and laxity, with acne scars? So let's address each of these separately. As far as reducing pore size, the size of our pores is something that is determined by our genes. Not much we can do about that. However, as we age through loss of collagen, our pores can definitely appear larger. So I would say, since microneedling is collagen induction therapy, it can hopefully help get our pores back to what they used to be. As far as getting rid of smile lines, it's kind of sad that we're trying to get rid of smile lines, right? At least we have enough to smile about in our life to have smile lines, but I completely understand. Now, smile lines, just like crow's feet, are dynamic lines. Every time I smile, I'm creating that line, that wrinkle. So I do not think that we can get rid of dynamic lines with microneedling, but I do think we can greatly reduce them. I, for example, had a very deep line right here. I used to play with it, it was palpable, and I have greatly reduced that line. I can still see it, but I can't feel it anymore. So through microneedling, I have greatly reduced that line, even though I'm getting older, but I haven't gotten rid of it. So I don't think we can get rid of dynamic lines, unless, of course, we paralyze the muscles creating the lines with a neurotoxin such as Botox, but I do think we can greatly reduce them. As far as skin sagging and laxity, that's a tough one. As we age, we continue to lose collagen. After age 30, we lose 1% of our collagen every year. Once we hit menopause, that percentage is even higher. Now, microneedling again is collagen induction therapy, but I'm a bit doubtful that I am inducing enough collagen to actually reverse skin sagging and laxity. However, I am hopeful that I'm inducing enough collagen to hopefully slow down that loss of collagen and therefore slow down skin sagging and laxity. Maybe even put it at a standstill, but at the very least, hopefully slow it down. But again, I'm a bit doubtful that I'm actually able to reverse skin sagging and laxity. And as far as acne scars, I have never had acne scars, but I have had my share of scars on my face. In my 20s, I fell off my bike and I had the whole lower part of my face open. And back then I was told that I needed plastic surgery for the scars, which of course I didn't have. Now, those scars were visible for about 15 years, but once I started microneedling, they greatly reduced and now I can't see them at all anymore. And a few years ago, I knocked myself in the chin with a U-lock and needed stitches right here, and I can't see the stitches either anymore. So I do think that microneedling is great for scars, and of course also acne scars. In fact, I've read some really interesting studies on microneedling for acne scars, and if I can find them, I will link them down below. But yes, definitely, I think microneedling is great for any scar, including acne scars. So as I said earlier, I got quite a few questions about microneedling around the eyes. In the video that I linked below, I fast forwarded so it wouldn't be forever long. So it wasn't quite clear whether I microneedled around my eyes or even around my lips. I have since made another video showing in detail how I microneedle, including around my eyes and around my lips. And if you have not seen that video, I will also link it down below. But many of you asked, is it safe to microneedle around the eyes? Do I personally microneedle around the eyes? And what about the lips? So yes, it is safe to microneedle around the eyes as well as around the lips. However, of course, the skin under the eyes is very thin and very delicate, so you have to be quite careful. You don't want to go past the orbital bone, and you want to be very careful. So I personally will always go less deep around the eyes. I will go 0.5 to at the most 0.75 millimeters. And also the derminator has different speeds. It has a slow, medium and fast. Normally I microneedle at a fast speed, but when I get around the eyes, I will either do slow or medium, and I will also make sure to really hold my skin tight. So like I said, it is safe to microneedle around the eyes, but be very careful. Again, the skin there is very thin and very delicate. And again, I show you in detail how I do it, so that video is linked down below. As far as around the lips, yes, I microneedle around my lips. I do not go on my lips. Some people do, I don't do that, but I definitely go around my lips. And around the lips, I go the same depth, so 1 millimeter, and also at a fast speed. So around the lips, I'm not as careful. The skin there is not as delicate as under the eyes. But I do find around the lips a little bit more painful than the rest of the face, so just be aware of that. I got a ton of questions regarding topicals. The first one is, do I personally use antibiotic ointment after microneedling? And no, I don't. I don't find the need to use antibiotic ointment after microneedling. The second one, and this one was asked a lot, can I use vitamin C before, during or after microneedling? And the safe answer is no. And again, remember, we are talking about medical microneedling. The rules for cosmetic microneedling are very different. When you cosmetic microneedle, you really don't have to worry so much about what you're putting on after. However, when you cosmetic microneedle, the rules are a little bit different. So the safe answer as far as vitamin C before, during or after microneedling is no. Studies have actually shown that when vitamin C is microneedled into the skin, it can cause granulomas. So you do not want to use vitamin C before, during or after medical microneedling, because again, you run the risk of developing granulomas. And then along those lines, I got a ton of questions. Can I use aloe vera gel right after? Can I put on moisturizer? Can I put on such and such oil? Some of you sent me a picture. Can I put on this product? And again, the safe answer is no. After medical microneedling, we have open channels. They close up fairly quickly, but they can stay open for up to 24 hours. Now, most things we put on our skin are just supposed to sit on the epidermis and protect our skin. They're not supposed to actually penetrate into the dermis. But now you have these open channels, and anything you put on right after might penetrate much deeper than you might want it to. So the safe answer is no. After medical microneedling, really what you want to do is put on some sterile water, hyaluronic acid, or a product which is meant to be used during or after microneedling. And when you're using hyaluronic acid, make sure it is a high molecular weight hyaluronic acid, because high molecular weight hyaluronic acid is actually anti-inflammatory, versus low molecular weight hyaluronic acid can actually be inflammatory. So again, the safe answer is please only put on either sterile water, high molecular weight hyaluronic acid, or a product which is meant to be used right after or during microneedling. Now, have I personally used other things Yes, I have. But again, the safe answer is no. There are quite a few products out there now that can be used right after microneedling, but I wouldn't risk putting on an oil or moisturizer, which again, you might not want to penetrate as deeply as it might be able to. So just be on the safe side. And the last question as far as topicals was, in my video, I use a stemfactor serum, which is safe to be used when microneedling. And several of you asked me, you couldn't find a stemfactor which is safe to be used when microneedling or right after microneedling. What should you use instead? And I would say, if you can't find a stemfactor, again, which is safe to be used for microneedling, just use a high molecular weight hyaluronic acid. If you're using the derminator or a Dr. Pen, you want to use a hyaluronic acid anyways because you want that slip. If you're using a dermaroller, you don't really need to use anything. But if you want to put something on afterwards, like I said, I would just go for the hyaluronic acid if you cannot find a stemfactor which is safe to be microneedled in. Now, a stemfactor is nice to have, but it's not necessary. So again, if you can't find one, I would say don't worry about it. Just go with either the hyaluronic acid, still water, or another product which is safe to be microneedled in. I get this question quite a bit. Many of you told me that I have beautiful skin. Thank you very much. And you asked me, is it all from microneedling, or do I do other things such as Botox, filler, etc.? So let's take a look. So I have, like I said, microneedled for almost 11 years now, and it has done wonders for my skin. I've also had Botox on and off since I was 35. I am 52 now, and I get it about 2 or 3 times a year in my forehead. I used to get it for my crow's feet, but I gave up on that because I have such an expressive face and it just took so much, it was just too expensive. So I get Botox about 2 or 3 times a year in my forehead. I've also had filler. I've had filler right here where I'm sunken in and in my lips. I have not had filler for about 4 years now, so I don't have any filler in my face now. And though I liked it, I don't know if I will do it again. Because I am so sunken in, it takes so much filler to make a difference, and again, it is so expensive. So I do Botox 2 or 3 times a year. I have had filler, but I don't have any filler in my face right now. Now, Botox or filler doesn't really do anything for your skin. Botox is a neurotoxin that paralyzes the muscle, and filler just plumps out your face, right? But I have had quite a few IPL treatments. If you're not familiar with IPL, IPL stands for Intense Pulse Light, and it is used for broken capillaries, hyperpigmentation, and also rosacea. In my early 30s, I had really bad rosacea. It was really painful. I had the red mask, the rash, everything. For a while, I was on antibiotics as well as all kinds of topicals, and none of it helped. So finally, I learned about IPL, and after 5 IPL sessions, my rosacea was basically cured. So since then, I've had an IPL treatment maybe once a year or once every other year. So I have had quite a few IPL treatments. And like I said, IPL is used for broken capillaries and hyperpigmentation, but it can also help with collagen production. So I'm sure that the IPL has also done some good things for my skin. And then last year and just recently, and I made a video on it, if you haven't seen it, I will link it down below, I had Fraxel laser done. I had 3 treatments last year and 1 this year. They say to get between 3 and 5 sessions. I've had 4 and I'm done with it. The downtime is just too much. But I'm sure that the Fraxel laser has also done some good things for my skin. And then also just recently, and I also made a video on that, I did a couple of peels. I did the PRX T33 peel, which is a TCA peel that is buffered with hydrogen peroxide, so it is not as intense. So I'm sure that has done some good things for my skin as well. But if you would ask me, out of all these things, what has made the biggest difference for my skin, I would definitely say microneedling. Because in the last 11 years, I have microneedled about 100 times, if not more. Now, of course, if I had 100 Fraxels done, I am sure my skin would be incredible, but that's not going to happen. So I would definitely say that the microneedling, because of the consistency and the frequency, has done the most for my skin. But I always have to say this too, we cannot underestimate nutrition. I was anorexic for 2 decades, and let me tell you, my skin was not pretty. Because of the lack of nutrition, I didn't give my body the nutrients it needed to build collagen and to have healthy, glowing skin. So nutrition is very, very important. If we microneedle and then don't feed our body the nutrients it needs to actually produce collagen, we're not doing ourselves any favors. Several of you wanted to know how I feel about using LED light therapy after microneedling, and I feel great about it. I actually always now use my LED light therapy right after microneedling and the days to come, and I am amazed how it takes down redness. Now, some people say because, again, when we're microneedling, when we're medical microneedling, we are causing a controlled injury, some inflammation on purpose, and LED light therapy can be anti-inflammatory. So some people say to not use LED light therapy after microneedling because we don't want to counteract that inflammation we're causing on purpose. But I am confident that there's still plenty of inflammation to help induce growth factors, collagen, elastin, all the good things we're after. So I think using LED light therapy right after microneedling is a great tool to just help our skin heal faster. However, if you're planning on using a mask right after, make sure to clean it really well so you don't have any bacteria on there that you then actually end up putting on your face. This next question I got a couple of times, and I've also seen this concern in other places. And the question is, do we stop producing collagen if we microneedle too often? So in other words, does the body have a limited amount of collagen? Now, I actually spent quite a bit of time trying to find some research or some studies on this, and I couldn't find anything. So logically, I would say no. I do not think that the body has a limited amount of collagen. It is the body's job to heal injury, right? Every time I bang myself up, my body's going to repair it. My body's not going to say, that's it, you've banged yourself up too many times, I'm not going to repair this. And again, when we're microneedling, we are causing a controlled injury. So in my opinion, it's the body's job to repair it and to produce collagen. So I do not think we have a limited amount of collagen and we're going to run out of collagen if we microneedle too frequently. Now, that being said, of course, as we age, collagen production slows down, and we have to make sure we give our body the nutrients it needs to make collagen. But taking that in consideration, knowing that collagen production slows as we age, and knowing that we have to give our body the nutrients it needs to make collagen, I do not think that we're going to run out of collagen if we microneedle too often. We can microneedle too frequently, as I said earlier, and just keep causing inflammation. But I do think if we give our body enough time to heal in between, in my opinion, I do not think that we have a limited amount of collagen and that we're just fine microneedling for years and years to come. But if you have found any other research on this, please share down below. In my microneedling video, I show you what my skin looks like the day after microneedling, and I had said that I just worked out and I was a little bit flushed. And several of you were very concerned that I exercised after microneedling, and a couple of you asked me, is it okay to work out after microneedling? Now again, please remember, I am just sharing my experience. But I have microneedled now, like I said, for almost 11 years and worked out the next day, no problems. What I will normally do is I will microneedle in the evening, a few hours before I go to bed. I go to bed, I get up the next morning, and I exercise. If I exercise outside, I will put on sunscreen. And I would say regardless of whether you're working out or not, if you're planning on going outside the day after microneedling, please make sure you're wearing some sunscreen. Ideally some mineral sunscreen. But so that's what I will do. If I work out outside, I will put on some sunscreen. If I work out inside, I don't bother. I have never had any problems. But again, please do your own research. Now, I would not work out right after microneedling, but again, I do it in the evening, quite a few hours before I go to bed, and then work out the next morning and have never had any problems. And then lastly, several of you wanted to know if you're using a Dr. Pen or the Derminator and you're doing your face and then your neck and your chest, should you use a fresh cartridge for your neck and your chest? And I would say yes. Once you're done with your face, I would use a fresh cartridge for your neck and your chest. That way you're making sure that everything is nice and sanitary and also the needles aren't dull. So these are, like I said, the most frequently asked questions I got below my microneedling video. Of course, if you have any more questions or comments, leave them down below. I always love to hear from you. Also, if you have come across any other research than anything I have just stated, please share down below. We can all learn from each other. Thank you so much for being here. Again, Happy New Year. Let's hope this year will be a lot better. Until next time, bye.